What are the requirements for performing wudu? The textbook we have says, in order for the ablution to be valid, it must comply with the following requirements. Number one, belief in Islam, sanity, and sense of discrimination. These are known to be the conditions for being accountable. So usually you'll find these conditions in the very beginning of every single act of worship. You have to be Muslim. You cannot fast if you're not Muslim. Not the ability or the physical ability, rather it would not be accepted from you. So fasting, it requires that you are a Muslim. If someone who's insane fasts, this is not permissible because he's not considered to be sane. And if someone does not have the sense of discrimination, this is a rough translation to being able to distinguish right from wrong. So for example, a woman takes an Uber and she has a 2-year-old child, and she says that this child breaks the seclusion with the driver of my Uber. We'd say, no, this is not true, because this child does not have the sense of discrimination. He cannot say or tell whether the driver is hitting on you or not. But if the child is 8 years of age, 9 years of age, though he's not an adult yet he is aware of what's happening and he can understand what the driver is hinting to. So the driver would most likely be afraid to say anything, because there is someone who is listening and aware of what he is trying to do. So these are the three conditions that are always required in any form of worship. So a child who is beyond or below the sense of discrimination age, if he's 5 years of age, 6 years of age, and wants to pray, should we tell him to perform wudu or not? Yes, this is part of teaching him. But we would neglect if he did not wash one of his arms or the likes. The second requirement is intention. And the vast majority of scholars say that intention for wudu is a must, because the Prophet said, verily deeds are judged by their intention. So if someone just goes to the toilet not thinking of what he wants to do, or it's not a time for prayer. Let me give you another example. It's not a time for prayer, and a person goes and answers the call of nature, and soon afterwards he finds himself washing his left foot, and he looks in the mirror and he finds that he had already performed wudu. Now it is not time for prayer to perform wudu, and he did not intend to perform wudu. Rather, it is an automatic reaction to whenever he answers the call of nature. So can he pray with that wudu? The answer is no, because this was not intended. It's different to someone hearing the adhan or wanting to go to the masjid, and he goes to the toilet to answer the call of nature and to make wudu. Khalas, his intention was done. He doesn't say anything verbally, or he doesn't need to think about it, because this is what he's going to do and he already thought about it, unlike our friend in the first scenario. Number 3, the requirement says it has to be clean water, and this is not accurate. See, the people of fiqh, the scholars, choose their words very carefully. Clean water, and he defines ablution cannot be done using water that has been contaminated by impurity. In this case, you should have said tahir water, or pure from impurity water, because clean does not mean it is not contaminated. And dirty does not mean you cannot make wudu with that. Clean and dirty are terms that we use in our daily lives that have no connection to whether I can make wudu or not. So for example, in some countries where they use ductile iron or some sort of metal pipes that rust, if you turn the tap water, in the beginning you will get yellowish water. Is this clean for you to drink? No, I'm not going to drink this. Would you wash your clothes with it? Definitely not. It's going to stain. Is this permissible to perform wudu with? The answer is yes. Though the color has changed, but not with an impurity, a najasa like urine or feces. Rather, it was changed due to the rust, the corrosion in the pipes. Therefore, this is not clean, but you can perform wudu with it. And likewise, if we have a container of water that looks clean, smells clean, but you see a drop or more of urine fall into it, let me avoid urine, because one of the characteristics did not change with the najasa. If you have a container of water and a dog comes and drinks from it, licks it, so it smells good, it looks good, but you know that this is definitely impure and that you cannot drink it and you cannot perform wudu with it because it's najis. To the folks who don't believe in Islam would say, yeah, but this is clean water. I have no problem with my pet, a dog, licking it or drinking from it, so I can perform wudu. The answer is no. Muslims do not do that. Though it is clean in your standards, it is najis in Islam's standards. So the word clean water, if we adjust it and change it into it has to be pure from najasa water, that would be better, inshallah. Number 4, removal of anything that prevents skin contact with water, such as the presence of wax or dough on some spots or nail varnish. So it is requirement of wudu that the organs mentioned, which we will come to discuss inshallah later. Let me check the recommended part. Yes, we will come and talk about it. The organs of wudu must have no barriers between them and water. So if I have paint on my hand, wudu is invalid because the layer of paint prevents the water from reaching my skin. If I have nail polish, the same thing happens. I cannot consider myself in the state of wudu because the water did not reach my nail. There was a layer on top of it. And this is a real physical layer that has a mass. Unlike if I have a pen and I draw a line, you can see it's blue, but this does not consist a layer. So when I wash, this is just a color. When I apply henna or mehndi on my hands, although men are not allowed to do this, but hypothetical, and then there is no residue, there is nothing solid on it except the color. This color does not prevent water from reaching the skin, unlike when it has a mass and a layer preventing the water from reaching the skin. Number 5, cleaning the private parts after discharge. And I don't know what this has to be or to do with requirements of wudu. This is not related to wudu. That you clean yourself after defecating or urinating. This is something different. This is called istinja and istijmar. I may perform wudu afterwards, I may not. So this is not connected with the chapter of wudu and hence should maybe be removed. Immediate progress from one action to the next. And this is known as al-muwalat. See, I have 4 organs I have to take care of. Washing the face, washing the arms, wiping over the head, and washing the feet. There has to be simultaneousness when I do this. I cannot wash my face and then I make a phone call and I text messages and maybe go and check the microwave and then come back and wash my arms. This does not work this way because for many reasons, and we will get to hopefully today to talk about this in a while, inshallah, and whether this is measured by the drying of the limbs or not, because this is also an issue of confusion with a lot of the Muslims. They think that in order to have immediate progress from one action to the next, that you must not have any of your limbs dry. So if I want to wash my feet, I have to grab my foot to the sink, which means that I have to, with my hands, hold my trousers. Now my hands are dry. So my wudu is invalid because I did not have this immediate progress. No. This is a different issue altogether. There's nothing wrong in drying your limbs by itself or due to the actions of wudu. In hot weathers like here in Saudi Arabia, when sometimes it reaches 47, 48 Celsius, centigrade. If you're performing wudu, by the time you wash your arms, your face is already clean, dry. So what should I do? This is a vicious circle. Should I keep on doing wudu for the rest of my day? The answer is no. What is meant is by muwalat is that you do not leave a gap, which according to the urf, which is one of the sources of legislation we discussed last time, according to the urf, the gap between washing your face and arms are not long. So yes, if I am washed my face and someone said something to me and I replied, took a couple of seconds, then went on with washing my arms, there's no problem. There was not a long gap. Unlike if I go and open the door and welcome the guests in, and then I go back to the toilet trying to finish what I started. Number 7, following the proper order. And this is known in Arabic as at-tartib. So the order in the Quran: faces, arms, head, feet. If someone went to make wudu and he found that he washed his arms to the elbows but did not wash his face, he forgot. So he simply washes his face. What's the big deal? And he goes on to wipe over his head. We say your wudu is invalid. And why would it be invalid? Because you did not follow the order. So what? Well, if you notice that Allah Azza wa Jal mentioned 2 organs to be washed. فَاغْسِلُوا وُجُوهَكُمْ وَأَيْدِيَكُمْ إِلَى الْمَرَافِقِ. And the 4th organ is also to be washed. وَأَرْجُلَكُمْ إِلَى الْكَعْبَيْنِ. But in between, Allah inserted an organ to be wiped over and not to be washed. So had it been washing the face, the arms, the legs, and then wiping the head, then okay, the order would not have been of great importance. But to have two washed organs and then a fourth one separated by wiping, this means that the order is intended. And it is sufficient to know that the Prophet ﷺ, throughout his remaining life in Medina, 10 years, had never ever gone against the order mentioned in the Quran. So we have to stick to it, and it is a pillar, one of the pillars of wudu, as we will hopefully discuss in a while.